Boy finds horse on the top floor of the building when he discovers the reason. Tyler Anderson was only 12 years old, but he already knew life's hardships well. He lived with his mother, Ms. Karen, in a tiny studio in the Upper East Side neighborhood of New York City, where she worked as a cleaner in several luxury apartments in the area. It was on a Saturday afternoon that Tyler, while gazing at the skyscrapers through his makeshift telescope, saw something unbelievable: a majestic chestnut horse calmly walking on the terrace of the most luxurious building in the neighborhood, the Skyline Tower. The boy rubbed his eyes, adjusted the telescope's focus, and confirmed there really was a horse over 30 stories high, strolling as if it were in an open field. "Mom, there's a horse in the building across the street!" Tyler shouted, running to the small living room where Ms. Karen was mending clothes. "Don't be silly, Tyler. How could a horse end up on top of a building? It must be a statue or—" "You're seeing things," she replied without looking up from her needlework. "It's not a statue, Mom. The horse is walking. Come see." Ms. Karen sighed, set the fabric aside, and went to the window. When she looked, there was no horse in sight. "See? It's your imagination. Now go finish your homework," she said, returning to her sewing. But Tyler knew what he had seen. In the following days, always at the same time, the horse was there again. The boy began jotting down his observations in a notebook. The animal usually appeared around 5 in the afternoon and stayed on the terrace for about an hour. He also noticed that sometimes an older man with white hair was with the horse, walking slowly beside it. Tyler's curiosity grew each day. Who was that man? How had he managed to bring a horse to the top floor of one of the city's most luxurious buildings? Why did no one else seem to notice? At school, he tried telling his classmates, but they all laughed. "A horse in a building, you crazy, Ty?" teased Aiden, the most popular boy in class. "It's true, I saw it with my telescope," Tyler insisted. "Telescope? That old thing you made with a toilet paper roll and your grandpa's broken glasses lens?" Jason said, provoking more laughter. Tyler decided he needed to uncover the truth himself. The Skyline Tower was one of the most exclusive buildings in the city, with tight security and millionaire residents. How could he get inside? The opportunity came when his mother mentioned that one of the cleaners at the Skyline Tower was sick and needed a temporary replacement. "Can I come with you, Mom? It's Saturday and I don't have school," Tyler asked, trying to hide his real intention. "What for? You'll just be bored watching me clean apartments all day." "I can help. That way you'll finish faster," the boy insisted. Ms. Karen finally agreed, but with one condition. "You stay in the staff room doing homework. I don't want you wandering the halls alone or bothering the residents, understand?" Tyler agreed, barely containing his excitement. The following Saturday, he dressed in his nicest clothes and accompanied his mother to the imposing Skyline Tower. The doorman, Mr. Jenkins, already knew Ms. Karen and let them in, though not without giving Tyler a suspicious look. "Just for today. My son will stay in the staff room doing homework," Ms. Karen explained. While his mother worked on the 12th floor, Tyler waited patiently. As soon as she entered one of the apartments, the boy slipped out of the staff room and searched for the emergency stairs. His plan was simple: climb to the terrace and see the horse up close with his own eyes. What Tyler didn't expect was how many floors there would be. By the 20th, his legs were shaking from exhaustion, but he didn't give up. When he finally reached the 35th floor, the last one before the rooftop, he stopped to catch his breath. The door leading to the rooftop had a sign, "Restricted access, authorized personnel only." Tyler hesitated. What if he got caught? His mother could lose her job. But curiosity won out. He turned the doorknob slowly, and to his surprise, the door wasn't locked. The afternoon sun bathed the spacious rooftop in light, and there it was, a majestic brown horse with a dark mane, exactly as he'd seen through the telescope. The animal grazed calmly in a small area covered with artificial grass. Nearby, sitting in a rocking chair, was an elderly gentleman with white hair and an elegant posture, reading a book. Tyler froze, hiding behind a metal structure. How was this possible? How had that horse gotten up here? The rooftop seemed specially adapted for the animal, with a small covered area that must have served as a shelter, containers for water and food, and even what looked like an irrigation system to clean up waste. "You can come out, boy. I've already seen you," said the man without looking up from his book. Tyler's heart raced. He thought about running, but his legs wouldn't obey. "No need to be afraid. Come meet Thunder," the man continued, closing the book and gesturing for Tyler to approach. Trembling, the boy stepped out of hiding. "How did you know I was here?" Tyler asked, still keeping his distance. "When you've lived as many years as I have, you learn to notice things others don't," the man replied with a faint smile. "My name is William Patterson, and you, who are you?" Tyler Anderson. My mom works here, cleaning apartments." "Ah, Ms. Karen is your mother. She's a wonderful person. She's cleaned my apartment a few times." Tyler moved closer cautiously. The horse lifted its head and watched him with large brown eyes. "You can pet him if you'd like. Thunder is very gentle," said Mr. Patterson. Hesitantly, Tyler reached out and touched the animal's neck. The fur was soft and warm under his fingers. How did you manage to bring a horse up here?" he finally asked. Mr. Patterson chuckled softly. "That's a long story, young man. A long story that began over 50 years ago, when I was still a young architect and designed this building." Tyler's eyes widened. "You designed this whole building?" "Yes, I did. This was my most important project, the one that brought me recognition in the world of architecture. And you know, when I designed this rooftop, I had a secret dream." "What dream?" Tyler asked, growing more curious. "The dream of one day seeing the horizon from up here with someone very special. Someone who loved horses more than anything in this world." Mr. Patterson's gaze drifted to the horizon, and Tyler sensed there was much more to this story than he could imagine. "Mr. Patterson, why do you have a horse here? Isn't it against the rules?" The old man smiled again, a smile tinged with sadness and affection. "Officially, yes, but when you design the building, you know all its secrets, including how to adapt a service elevator to transport a horse." Tyler was fascinated, but before he could ask another question, he heard footsteps on the stairs and his mother's voice desperately calling his name. Ty, where are you?" The boy turned nervously to Mr. Patterson, who gave him a reassuring nod. "It's all right. You can tell her I invited you to see the rooftop." When Miss Karen appeared in the doorway, her face was a mix of anger and worry. "Ty, what are you doing here? I've been looking everywhere for you." Then she saw Mr. Patterson and the horse, and her expression shifted to utter shock. "Mr. Patterson? And that's a horse, yes, Miss Karen," the old man confirmed calmly. "Your son was just keeping me company. I hope you don't mind." Miss Karen seemed at a loss for words, alternating glances between her son, the elderly man, and the imposing animal on the terrace of one of New York City's most exclusive buildings. "But why?" was all she managed to say. "It's a long story, Miss Karen, a story that begins with love and ends with a promise," replied Mr. Patterson, gazing at the horizon where the sun was beginning to set, painting the New York City sky in shades of orange. "Perhaps one day I'll tell you both." Tyler looked at the old man and the horse. In that moment, he knew he had stumbled upon something extraordinary, a secret few knew, and he was determined to uncover the full story behind the mystery. "Can we come back another day?" he asked excitedly. His mother shot him a disapproving look, but Mr. Patterson intervened. "You'll always be welcome. Thunder seems to have taken a liking to you, Ty, and it's not every day he warms up to someone." As they descended the stairs back to the ordinary reality of the building, Tyler couldn't stop thinking about what he had just discovered. A horse atop a skyscraper, an old man with a mysterious past, a decades-old promise. "Ty, you shouldn't have left the staff room," whispered Miss Karen, still dazed by what she had seen. "You could have gotten into trouble. I could have lost my job." "Sorry, Mom, but I had to see." "See what?" "The horse. I spotted it through my telescope from home. But no one believed me." Ms. Karen stopped on the landing and stared at her son. "You already knew about the horse? Is that why you wanted to come with me today?" Tyler nodded, embarrassed. "Don't do that again, understand?" she said, continuing down the stairs. "Now let's go, and don't tell anyone what you saw. That's Mr. Patterson's business, not ours." But Tyler knew he couldn't just forget. There were too many questions swirling in his mind. Who was the person who loved horses? Why did Mr. Patterson keep Thunder a secret? And most importantly, How could a horse live happily on top of a building? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. In the weeks that followed, Tyler couldn't get the horse out of his head. At school during lessons, he caught himself sketching the animal on the building's terrace. At home, he spent hours at the window with his telescope, hoping to catch another glimpse of thunder. "Mom, when are you working at Mr. Patterson's apartment again?" Tyler asked for the third time that week. Ms. Karen sighed as she folded freshly ironed laundry. "Ty, we've talked about this. It's not right to bother Mr. Patterson. He's a busy and private man. But he said we could come back. You heard him." "What I heard was a polite man being kind. That doesn't mean we should show up at his door every week." Tyler sat at the small kitchen table, disappointed. He poked at his bowl of oatmeal absently, thinking of ways to get back to the terrace of the Skyline Tower. "Besides," Ms. Karen continued, "there's something odd about this whole thing. A horse in a luxury building. Mr. Patterson may have been the architect, but he's probably breaking at least 10 condo rules." His mother's comment gave Tyler an idea. If he could learn more about the building's rules, maybe he'd understand how Mr. Patterson kept thunder there without issues. The next day after school, he stopped by the Skyline Tower and watched the entrance. He noticed that the doorman, Mr. Jenkins, seemed to know every resident by name. After observing the building's routine for a few days, Tyler found his opportunity. An elderly woman approached the entrance, struggling with heavy shopping bags. The boy rushed to help her. "Can I help you with those?" he offered. The woman, with graying hair and a kind face, smiled gratefully. "What a polite young man. Of course you can, dear. It's just some monthly groceries." Mr. Jenkins, the doorman, eyed Tyler suspiciously, but the woman intervened. "It's fine, Jenkins. The young man is helping me." Tyler carried the bags to the elevator, and the woman invited him to ride up with her. "I live on the 15th floor, apartment 1502. I'm Mrs. Abernathy. And you, who are you?" "Tyler Anderson. My mom sometimes works here, cleaning apartments." "Oh, I see. Well, thank you so much for your help. I'll give you a little something for your trouble." Tyler accompanied Mrs. Abernathy to her apartment. As he set the bags, down in the kitchen, he noticed the photos on the living room wall. One showed a group of people in front of the Skyline Tower, seemingly at its inauguration. Among them, Tyler recognized a much younger Mr. Patterson. "Have you lived here since the building was built?" he asked casually. Mrs. Abernathy smiled nostalgically. "Yes, since the opening. It was 1972. My late husband and I were among the first to buy an apartment here. William Patterson was a brilliant young architect back then." "You know Mr. Patterson well?" "Of course, he still lives in the penthouse, though he rarely appears in the common areas these days. He's been very private since Mrs. Margaret passed." Tyler felt he was getting closer to something important. Mrs. Margaret was his wife. A lovely woman, passionate about horses. She had a wonderful ranch in the Hudson Valley. I remember they went there every weekend. Tyler's heart raced. It was starting to make sense. "What happened to her?" Mrs. Abernathy's face darkened. "She fell ill, poor dear. A long, difficult illness. William did everything, took her abroad for treatments, consulted the best doctors, but nothing worked. She passed about 5 years ago." Tyler absorbed the information silently. Now he understood a little more about the horse on the terrace. It must have been Mr. Patterson's way of keeping his wife's memory alive. Mrs. Abernathy went to the kitchen and returned with a $20 bill, handing it to Tyler. "Here you go, dear. Thank you for your help." Tyler accepted it gratefully, but had one more question. "Mrs. Abernathy, did you know Mr. Patterson keeps a horse on the terrace?" The woman's eyes widened. "A horse? On the terrace? What nonsense is that, boy?" "Never mind," Tyler backtracked quickly. "I must have been mistaken. Thanks again for the tip." Leaving the apartment, Tyler had more questions than answers. Clearly, not all residents knew about thunder. How did Mr. Patterson keep such a big secret? Over the next few days, Tyler continued his investigation. He pretended to wait for his mom at the service entrance, using the chance to chat with staff. He learned there was a special service elevator, used only for large deliveries, that went straight from the basement to the penthouse. "No one uses that elevator unless Mr. Patterson authorizes it," said Timmy, one of the cleaning assistants. "They say it's because he collects large art pieces and needs a special elevator to move them." Tyler also discovered that an agricultural supply company made bi-weekly deliveries to the building, always in the early morning when most residents were still asleep. With each new detail, the boy grew more fascinated. Mr. Patterson had created an entire system to keep Thunder hidden and comfortable. After 2 weeks of digging, Tyler decided he needed to speak with Mr. Patterson again. One Saturday, while accompanying his mom to work at the Skyline Tower, he waited until she was busy and took the emergency stairs straight to the penthouse. When he reached the terrace, he found Mr. Patterson brushing Thunder's coat. The elderly man didn't seem surprised to see him. "I figured you'd come back, Tyler," he said, continuing to brush the horse. "Your curiosity is plain in your eyes. Sorry to show up like this, unannounced," said Tyler, stepping closer. "But I really wanted to know more about Thunder. And about Mrs. Margaret." Mr. Patterson stopped brushing the horse and looked at Tyler in surprise. "You've been digging around, I see." "A little. I spoke with Mrs. Abernathy." Mr. Patterson nodded. "Abernathy is a good friend. One of the few left from the old days." There was a moment of silence as the elderly man seemed to weigh how much to share. "Margaret was the most extraordinary person I ever knew," he finally began. "We met when I was still an architecture student, and she was just starting her ranch. She was the one who inspired me to design this building." Tyler listened intently. "You know, I designed this rooftop with her in mind. I wanted her to see the New York City skyline as if she were riding one of her horses. In the original plans, there was a rooftop garden up here." "And how did Thunder end up here?" Mr. Patterson stroked the horse's muzzle before answering. "Thunder was Margaret's favorite. When she fell ill, she couldn't visit the ranch anymore, and she missed the horses terribly. Her health declined fast. In her last months, she could barely leave her bed." Tyler noticed the old man's voice grow thick. "One day, she told me her last wish was to see Thunder one more time. That's when I got the crazy idea to bring him here. I modified the freight elevator, reinforced the rooftop floor, and one early morning, with the help of a few trusted friends, we brought Thunder up. The joy in Margaret's eyes when she saw her favorite horse through her bedroom window." Mr. Patterson paused, overcome. "It was worth every risk." "And after she passed, you kept Thunder here?" "Yes, I couldn't bear to part with him. It's like a piece of her is still here when I'm with Thunder. The ranch was sold. Without Margaret, there was no point in keeping it. But Thunder had to stay with me." Tyler felt his eyes well up. It was a story of love and devotion unlike any he'd ever heard. "Doesn't anyone in the building complain?" "Few know. I pay an extra fee to the condo for exclusive rooftop landscaping use. The building manager knows, of course, but I've generously increased his annual bonus. The staff who help care for Thunder are paid well for their discretion." "That must cost a fortune," Tyler remarked. "It does, but money is just paper when it comes to keeping a promise made in love. I promised Margaret I'd care for Thunder until the end, and that's what I'll do." Tyler ran his hand through the horse's mane. "Could I come by sometimes to help take care of him?" Mr. Patterson smiled, the first genuinely happy smile Tyler had seen on the old man's face. "I'd like that. Thunder seems to like you, and I could use the company of someone who understands the value of this story." And so began an unlikely friendship between the boy from the modest apartment and the retired millionaire architect. Twice a week, Tyler would go up to the rooftop and help care for Thunder. Mr. Patterson taught him how to brush the horse's coat the right way, clean his hooves, and feed him the proper mix of oats, carrots, and apples. In return, Tyler brought youthful energy and curiosity to Mr. Patterson's afternoons. The old man began teaching him about architecture, showing blueprints and sketches of his most famous projects. Tyler discovered he had a natural talent for drawing and started dreaming of becoming an architect one day. Ms. Karen, after initial reluctance, eventually accepted her son's friendship with Mr. Patterson, especially after the old man explained the whole story to her. "Your boy has a good heart, Ms. Karen," Mr. Patterson said, "and my days have been brighter since he started visiting Thunder." Everything seemed to be going well until one Sunday afternoon, while Tyler was helping clean the makeshift stable. On the rooftop, they heard raised voices coming from the stairwell. "This is outrageous! I'm reporting this to the city," said an angry male voice. "Calm down, Dr. Richardson. I'm sure there's an explanation," replied another voice, which Tyler recognized as the building manager's. The next moment, the rooftop door burst open, and a tall man in a suit stormed in, followed by the manager and an elegant middle-aged woman. "So the rumors are true," the man exclaimed, pointing at Thunder. "A horse! A damn horse on the rooftop of the most exclusive building in New York City. This is unacceptable." Mr. Patterson stepped between Thunder and the newcomers. "Dr. Richardson, please, calm down. Thunder has been here for 5 years and has never caused any trouble." 5 years? The man looked like he was about to explode. "Walter, did you know about this?" he asked, turning to the manager. The manager, visibly uncomfortable, looked at the ground. "Well, Dr. Richardson, Mr. Patterson has special permission for exclusive use of the rooftop. Permission for a garden, maybe, not to turn our building into a farm. My apartment is right below. Do you know how many times I've heard strange noises? I thought it was the air conditioning units." The woman beside him placed a hand on his shoulder. "Robert, remember your blood pressure." "Not now, Pamela," he snapped, brushing her hand away. "This is unacceptable. A horse violates every health and safety regulation in the building. I'm calling an emergency homeowners meeting to settle this." Tyler watched the scene, frightened. Mr. Patterson kept his composure but had gone pale. "Dr. Robert Richardson, isn't it?" the elderly man said. "You've only lived at Skyline Tower for 2 months. Perhaps you don't know, but I'm the architect who designed this building. I know every bolt, every beam, every inch of this place. The rooftop was built to safely support Thunder's weight. I don't care if you built the Eiffel Tower. Rules are rules, and large animals are strictly prohibited in the building's bylaws. I'll make sure this abomination ends." With that, Dr. Richardson stormed out, his wife trailing behind him. The manager stayed behind, looking worried. "I'm sorry, Mr. Patterson. I tried to stop him, but he found out about the horse when one of the delivery men mentioned something. You know how influential Dr. Richardson is on the board." Mr. Patterson nodded wearily. "I know, Walter. Thank you for trying. We'll figure this out." When the manager left, Tyler approached Mr. Patterson. "What's going to happen now?" The old man stroked Thunder's mane thoughtfully. "Dr. Richardson is right about one thing. Technically, Thunder shouldn't be here. I've kept him here this long thanks to discretion and the understanding of many, but now that someone is determined to enforce the rules to the letter—" "But you can't just get rid of Thunder," Tyler protested. "He's your connection to Mrs. Margaret." "I know, my boy, I know." In the days that followed, news of the horse on the rooftop spread among the residents of Skyline Tower. Some found the story touching, while others were outraged at what they saw as an abuse of privilege. True to his word, Dr. Richardson called an emergency homeowners meeting to decide Thunder's fate. Tyler was desperate to help Mr. Patterson, but didn't know how. At home, he told his mother everything. "Mom, they're going to take Thunder away. Dr. Richardson said he'll report it to the city if Mr. Patterson doesn't remove the horse from the building." Ms. Karen listened to her son while preparing dinner. "Son, I understand you've grown attached to the horse and Mr. Patterson, but maybe it really is better for the animal to go somewhere more suitable. A horse needs space to run, real grass, other animals." "But Mom, Thunder is all Mr. Patterson has left. He promised his wife he'd take care of the horse." Ms. Karen sighed. "Ty, sometimes we have to accept that not all promises can be kept the way we'd like. Maybe Mr. Patterson could visit Thunder at a ranch." "It's not the same," Ty interrupted, tears in his eyes. "I've seen how he looks at Thunder, like part of Mrs. Margaret is still there." Ms. Karen hugged her son, moved by his sensitivity. "All right, let's think of something. But I'm not making any promises, okay?" The night before the meeting, Ty went to Mr. Patterson's apartment. He found the elderly man in his library, reviewing old documents. "There might be something here that can help us," he explained, showing the original blueprints of the building. "I'm looking for a specific clause about terrace usage." Ty studied the blueprints, impressed by the details. "You really thought of everything, didn't you?" "I tried. When you design a building like this, You have to anticipate the future, foresee needs even the residents don't know they'll have. Did you find anything helpful? Mr. Patterson shook his head, discouraged. Nothing conclusive. There are specs about the terrace's structural reinforcement. It was built to hold far more weight than usual, but nothing that expressly allows animals. Ty noticed something odd in one of the drawings. What's this? It looks like a separate area on the terrace. Mr. Patterson adjusted his glasses. Ah, that. It was an add-on project that never got built. I'd designed a small rooftop garden, accessible only from my apartment. Margaret loved plants too. Why wasn't it built? Costs mostly. The board didn't want to cover the extra maintenance. Ty had a sudden idea. But if it was in the original plans, that means you had permission to modify the terrace, right? Mr. Patterson looked at the boy with renewed interest. Indeed. There's a clause in the original contract granting me special rights to the terrace as compensation for the design work. He flipped through more documents. Here, Clause 22.3 states, the designer and owner of the penthouse retains perpetual rights for decorative and landscaping use of the common terrace, provided modifications don't compromise the building's structure. And having a horse could count as landscaping use, couldn't it? Ty suggested excitedly. That's an interesting argument, Mr. Patterson murmured thoughtfully. I don't know if it'll convince everyone, but it's better than nothing. The next day, the emergency meeting gathered nearly all the residents of Skyline Tower. Though they weren't tenants, Ty and Ms. Karen got special permission from Mr. Patterson to attend. The building's party room was packed. At the main table sat the board members, including Dr. Richardson and the building manager. Mr. Patterson sat in the front row, leaning on his cane, looking older and frailer than usual. We call to order this emergency meeting, convened by Dr. Robert Richardson to discuss the unauthorized presence of a large animal on the premises, the manager announced. Dr. Richardson was the first to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, we're facing an unprecedented absurdity. For years, apparently, we've coexisted with a horse on this building's terrace, violating every health and safety code. Regardless of who's responsible, he looked directly at Mr. Patterson, we cannot allow this kind of violation to continue. Imagine if everyone starts bringing exotic animals into their apartments. Where will it end? There were murmurs of agreement and disagreement among those present. Besides, Dr. Richardson continued, there are obvious structural risks. The weight of a full-grown horse, combined with the impact of its movements, could compromise the building's integrity. That's when Mr. Patterson slowly stood up and asked to speak. My dear neighbors and friends, some of you have known me for decades. Others, like Dr. Richardson, are newcomers and don't know the history of this building. I just ask for a few minutes to explain why Thunder is here. The building manager nodded, granting the elderly man the floor. I didn't just design this building. I poured my soul into it. Every detail from the apartment layouts to the plumbing system was carefully thought out. This was my most important project, conceived with my heart, because it was inspired by the woman I loved for over 50 years, Margaret. Mr. Patterson paused, visibly emotional. When Margaret fell ill, her greatest pain was being away from her horses, especially Thunder. In the last months of her life, I did what many would call madness. I adapted the freight elevator and brought Thunder here so she could see him one last time. The smile on her face, and he stopped, his voice breaking. I could never describe it. The room was completely silent. I promised Margaret I'd take care of Thunder until the end. And to address Dr. Richardson's concern, the terrace was designed to hold far more than the weight of a horse. Clause 22.3 of the original contract grants me perpetual rights to landscape the terrace. Landscaping means plants, Patterson, not animals, Dr. Richardson interrupted. The clause doesn't specify, Doctor, Mr. Patterson replied calmly. Besides, Thunder has been here for 5 years without a single incident. The costs for maintenance, cleaning, and adaptations are entirely covered by me. Mrs. Abernathy, the woman Ty had helped with groceries, stood up. I support William. Margaret was a wonderful woman who loved that horse. If William found a way to honor her memory without harming anyone, who are we to stop him? Other residents began voicing their support, sharing stories about Margaret, or noting how Mr. Patterson had always been an exemplary neighbor. Dr. Richardson, seeing he was losing ground, changed tactics. Feelings are feelings, but business is business. The rules are clear. Large animals are prohibited. If we make this exception, our property values could plummet. Who would want to buy an apartment in a building with a stable on the terrace? That's when Ty, who had been watching quietly from the corner, timidly asked to speak. The manager hesitated, but Mr. Patterson insisted, "Let the boy speak. Ty knows Thunder better than most here." Blushing with shyness, Ty stepped forward. I don't know much about building rules or contracts, but I know Thunder isn't just a horse to Mr. Patterson. He's the promise of love he made to his wife. These past weeks, helping take care of him, I've seen how well Thunder is treated, how clean and organized everything is. Ty looked straight at Dr. Richardson. You talked about property values, but did you know tourists point their cameras at Skyline Tower when Thunder appears on the terrace at sunset? They think it's amazing. The buildings become famous because of him. Doesn't that add value? Several residents nodded, commenting that they'd noticed more people photographing the building lately. And you know what else? Ty continued, gaining confidence. Mr. Patterson built this whole place. If he says the terrace can hold Thunder's weight, then it can. He knows more about it than anyone here. Dr. Robert tried to intervene, but Tyler hadn't finished. Sometimes rules exist to protect people and make living together easier. But when a rule prevents something that only brings joy and harms no one, maybe it's the rule that's wrong, not the people. When Tyler finished, there was a moment of silence, followed by spontaneous applause from many in attendance. Mr. Patterson looked at the boy with evident pride. The building manager cleared his throat, regaining control of the meeting. Well, I think we've heard enough opinions. Let's vote. Dr. Richardson's proposal is for the immediate removal of the horse from the premises. I suggest an alternative, that a specific exception be granted to Mr. William Patterson, considering his status as the building's designer and Clause 22.3 of the original contract, allowing the horse to stay under conditions that maintain hygiene and safety. The vote was tense. Each resident was called to express their vote publicly. Mrs. Abernathy and her older friends voted for Thunder to stay. Some newer residents sided with Dr. Richardson, but to many surprise, the majority ended up voting in favor of Mr. Patterson. 14 votes to 9. The horse is approved to stay under the sole responsibility of Mr. William Patterson, subject to the following conditions. The manager began listing the technical details of the agreement. Ty could barely contain his joy. Mr. Patterson, with tears in his eyes, thanked each neighbor who supported him. Dr. Richardson, visibly upset, left the meeting before it formally ended. "We did it, Mr. Patterson," Ty exclaimed, hugging the older man. "Thunder gets to stay." "Yes, my boy, and it's all thanks to your courage to speak up," Mr. Patterson replied, moved. "Margaret would be proud." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. In the following weeks, the story of the horse on the Skyline Tower's rooftop spread through the city. Journalists tried to interview Mr. Patterson, and curious onlookers wanted to photograph Thunder, but the manager, now more understanding, tightened security to protect the residents' privacy. Meanwhile, the friendship between Ty and Mr. Patterson grew stronger. The boy kept helping with Thunder's care, and the older man began teaching him more about architecture. Noticing the boy's talent for drawing, he gifted him a professional set of pencils and compasses. With the right tools, your creativity can take shape, Mr. Patterson said, handing the gift to Ty. The boy marveled at the gleaming instruments. "Thank you, Mr. Patterson. I'll take good care of them." "I know you will. You have the potential to be an excellent architect one day, you know?" Ty's eyes sparkled. "You really think so?" "I'm certain. Your drawings show an eye for detail and a natural understanding of space. Those are rare qualities." Ty began drawing compulsively. At home, at school, during visits to the rooftop, he sketched the New York City skyline from above, drew Thunder in different poses, and, most of all, started imagining and designing buildings. His school notebook was filled with sketches of houses, towers, bridges. On a particularly hot afternoon, as Ty sketched Thunder's silhouette against the sunset, he noticed Mr. Patterson was quieter than usual, sitting in his rocking chair with a distant look. "Everything okay, Mr. Patterson?" the boy asked, moving closer. The older man took a moment to respond. "Just tired, Ty. The years weigh heavier some days. Do you need anything? Water? Medicine?" Mr. Patterson smiled tenderly. "No, my boy. I'm just thinking about the future." "What future?" "Mine isn't as long as yours," the elderly man replied calmly. "And I worry about what will happen to Thunder when I'm no longer here." Tyler felt a lump in his throat. "Don't say that, Mr. Patterson. You'll live many more years." "Perhaps. But it's my duty to prepare. Did you know I have a daughter?" Tyler's eyes widened in surprise. "No, you never mentioned her." "Elizabeth. She's lived in Europe for many years. Ever since she married a French businessman, she rarely comes to New York City. Even when Margaret fell ill," Mr. Patterson paused. "Let's just say our relationship is complicated. Does she know about Thunder?" "Yes, though she's never shown much interest. Elizabeth never shared her mother's passion for horses. To her, they're just large, expensive animals to maintain." "And she'll inherit your apartment, won't she?" Tyler asked, beginning to understand the old man's concern. "Yes, and I have no illusions that she'll keep Thunder here. In fact, she'll probably sell the apartment as soon as she can." Tyler fell silent, absorbing the gravity of the situation. "I need to find a place for Thunder," Mr. Patterson continued. "A place where he'll be well cared for, where he can see the horizon like Margaret wanted." "We can't let that happen," Tyler protested. "There must be a solution." Mr. Patterson patted the boy's head. "Sometimes, Ty, we must accept that. Not everything can last forever. What matters is that while it lasted, it was perfect." But Tyler wasn't willing to accept that answer. In the days that followed, he began his own investigation, researching property laws, wills, and animal rights at the public library. He also visited a few ranches around New York City, claiming he was working on a school project about horse breeding. During one of these visits, he met Ms. Catherine, a kind woman who ran a small ranch specializing in equine therapy, therapeutic treatment using horses for people with disabilities. "It's amazing how horses can help with children's motor and emotional development," Ms. Catherine explained as she showed Tyler around. "Every animal here has a special story." Tyler told her about Thunder and Mr. Patterson, about the promise of love and the adapted terrace. "What a touching story," Ms. Catherine exclaimed. "You know, there's something special about horses who've lived with people nearing the end of their lives. They seem to develop an extra sensitivity." "Would you take Thunder here if it ever came to that?" Tyler asked hopefully. "Of course. It would be an honor, but your friend would need to understand that Thunder wouldn't just be his anymore. He'd belong to all the children who come here for therapy." Tyler returned home with an idea forming in his mind. If he could convince Mr. Patterson to make an arrangement with Ms. Catherine's ranch, Thunder would be protected even when the old man could no longer care for him. The following week, when Tyler went to visit Mr. Patterson, he found him on the phone, visibly upset. When he hung up, he looked even more aged. "Did something happen, Mr. Patterson?" Tyler asked worriedly. "Elizabeth is coming to New York City," the old man replied wearily. "She arrives next week. Says she wants to discuss arrangements for the future, which usually means she's trying to convince me to sell the apartment and move to a retirement home." Tyler felt a chill in his stomach. "What will you do?" "Resist as long as I can, of course. This is my home. It's where I lived with Margaret, where I designed my final projects, and most importantly, it's where Thunder is." Tyler hesitated before sharing his discovery. "Mr. Patterson, I found a place, a ranch that does equine therapy. The owner, Miss Catherine, is really nice and knows horses well. She said she'd take Thunder there if the time ever comes." Mr. Patterson looked at the boy with a mix of surprise and admiration. "You've been looking for a place for Thunder on your own?" Tyler nodded, slightly embarrassed. "I wanted to help, in case you ever needed it." The older man hugged. The boy moved. "Ty, you really are something special. I appreciate your concern, but I still hope to keep Thunder here for a long time." "But what if your daughter insists?" asked Tyler, worried. "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, how about we give Thunder a carrot? He seems a bit bored today. Elizabeth Patterson arrived in New York City on a rainy morning. She was an elegant woman in her 50s, carrying the proud bearing of her father and the classic beauty of her mother. Tyler saw her when she entered the Skyline Tower, accompanied by a man in a suit and 2 large suitcases. That day, Mr. Patterson asked Tyler not to go up to the terrace. "I need to have a difficult conversation with my daughter," he explained. The boy respected the request but lingered in the lobby, waiting to see the outcome of the meeting. After nearly 2 hours, Elizabeth came down, her face red as if she'd been crying or arguing heatedly. She walked straight past the doorman and into a taxi without looking back. Tyler rushed upstairs to check on Mr. Patterson. He found the older man in the library, a glass of whiskey in hand, staring at the photographs of Margaret that adorned the wall. "Mr. Patterson," Tyler called hesitantly. The man turned, surprised. "Ty, I thought you weren't coming today." "I saw your daughter." Leaving, she seemed upset. Mr. Patterson let out a heavy sigh. "Elizabeth never changes, still thinks she knows what's best for me without ever asking what I actually want." He took a sip of whiskey before continuing. "She wants me to sell the apartment, move to a retirement community in Westchester, near her sister-in-law's place, and of course she wants me to part with Thunder. You said no, right?" "I said I needed to think. It's not a simple decision, Ty. I'm getting older. My health isn't what it used to be." Maybe Elizabeth has a point in some ways. "But what about Thunder and your promise to Mrs. Margaret?" Mr. Patterson looked at the boy tenderly. "You know, Ty, sometimes promises need to adapt to circumstances. Maybe what matters isn't keeping Thunder exactly here, but making sure he's well cared for and loved." Tyler immediately thought of Ms. Catherine's ranch. "So you'd consider the ranch I visited? Thunder could help kids there." "It's an interesting idea," Mr. Patterson murmured thoughtfully. "Margaret always wanted her horses to be useful, to bring joy to people. I can take you there any day. Ms. Catherine would love to meet you." The older man smiled, comforted by the boy's enthusiasm. "Let's do that then. But don't tell Elizabeth yet. She's coming back in 2 weeks for my decision, and I want all my options carefully thought out." In the following days, Mr. Patterson seemed more upbeat. The possibility of a new purpose for Thunder gave him renewed energy. Together with Tyler, he began planning the visit to Miss Catherine's ranch. "We could go next Saturday," Tyler suggested. "My mom said she can drive us in Mr. Wilkins' van, her neighbor who has one." "Perfect, and we'll bring some photos of Thunder to show Miss Catherine." Mr. Patterson's excitement was contagious. Tyler saw him smile more in those days than in all the previous weeks combined. The older man even started sketching how Thunder could be safely transported to the ranch, if and when the time came. "I'm thinking of donating part of my estate to ensure Thunder's well-being at the ranch," he remarked as he drew. "A trust fund that covers your expenses for life and helps other children access hippotherapy." "That would be amazing. Mr. Patterson, Miss Catherine would be so happy." On the Friday before the scheduled visit, Tyler arrived at the Skyline Tower and noticed unusual activity. An ambulance was parked at the entrance, and paramedics were bringing in a stretcher. His heart raced. He ran to the doorman. "Mr. Jenkins, what happened?" The doorman looked grave. "It's Mr. Patterson, son. He fainted while on the terrace with the horse. The maid found him and called emergency services." Tyler's legs went weak. Is he okay?" "I don't know. The doctors just got here. You'd better wait downstairs with your mom when she arrives." But Tyler couldn't wait. Ignoring the doorman's calls, he dashed to the elevator and went up to Mr. Patterson's apartment. Inside, he found paramedics, tending to the elderly man who was lying on the living room sofa, conscious but visibly weak. "Blood pressure's dangerously high," one paramedic said. "We need to take him to the hospital for evaluation." "It's nothing serious," Mr. Patterson insisted, trying to sit up. "Just a passing spell." Then he noticed Tyler standing in the doorway. "Ty, you weren't supposed to be here now. Mr. Jenkins told me. I got worried." The old man motioned for the boy to come closer. "I'm fine, just a scare. But it looks like I'll have to spend the night in the hospital for some tests. Can you do me a favor?" Of course, anything. Keep an eye on Thunder. The maid will feed him, but he gets nervous around strangers. If you could come by early tomorrow to calm him down. I'll be here, I promise, Tyler assured him, and I'll let Miss Catherine know we need to postpone our visit. The paramedics finished preparing Mr. Patterson for transport. Time to go, sir, one said. Your personal belongings are in this bag. As they lifted him onto the stretcher, Mr. Patterson grasped Tyler's hand. There's a blue folder in the top desk drawer. Inside are all of Thunder's papers, including a will I recently made. If anything happens— Nothing's going to happen, Mr. Patterson, Tyler interrupted, alarmed. You'll be back soon. Of course I will, the old man smiled, squeezing the boy's hand before being wheeled away. Tyler lingered in the apartment, trying to process what had happened. He went up to the terrace to check on Thunder, who seemed to sense something was wrong. The horse was restless, pacing nervously in the confined space. Easy, Thunder, Tyler murmured, stroking the animal's neck. Mr. Patterson will be okay, he's tough. That night, Tyler barely slept. He called the hospital where Mr. Patterson had been admitted, but was only told he was stable. Early the next morning, as promised, he returned to the Skyline Tower to care for Thunder. To his surprise, he found a woman on the terrace watching the horse with an unreadable expression. He recognized her immediately. Elizabeth, Mr. Patterson's daughter. Who are you? She asked, noticing Tyler. And how did you get in here? I'm Tyler, Mr. Patterson's friend. He asked me to look after Thunder while he's in the hospital. Ah, you're the boy my father mentioned. Elizabeth scrutinized him. Well, that won't be necessary. I've already arranged for someone to come take this animal away today. Tyler's blood ran cold. Take him? What do you mean? Mr. Patterson hasn't decided anything yet. My father had a mild stroke, Tyler. The doctors recommend complete rest and no stress for months. Keeping this animal here is a health risk. I've found a buyer for the horse, a farmer from upstate who's coming this afternoon. But you can't do this, Tyler protested. Mr. Patterson promised Mrs. Margaret romantic promises from a man who's going senile, Elizabeth cut in impatiently. My father needs serious medical care, not to play farmer on an apartment terrace. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a lot to handle. Tyler was desperate. Thunder couldn't just be sold to a stranger. There was Miss Catherine's ranch. There were the plans Mr. Patterson had been making. You can't make decisions like this. Your father has plans for Thunder. Listen here, kid, Elizabeth said, losing her patience. I appreciate that you were friends with my father, but this is a family matter. My father is hospitalized and, as his only close relative, I'm making the necessary decisions for his well-being. The horse will be sold today, and that's not up for discussion. Tyler rushed off the terrace, tears blurring his vision. He went down to the building lobby and used the front desk phone to call his mother. Mom, it's urgent. Mr. Patterson's daughter wants to sell Thunder today. She doesn't even know about Miss Catherine's ranch. Calm down, son, replied Miss Karen. If Mr. Patterson is hospitalized, his daughter has the right to make some decisions. But he didn't want this. He wants Thunder to go to Miss Catherine's ranch to help children. Do you have her number? We need to talk to her. Miss Karen seemed to think for a moment. Yes, you wrote it down in our address book. Look, I'll call her and explain the situation. You stay calm and don't cause any trouble, understand? Tyler hung up, feeling a little more hopeful. If they could get Miss Catherine to talk to Elizabeth, maybe they could convince her there was a better future for Thunder than being sold to a stranger. But hours passed, and no solution seemed in sight. Tyler went back to the terrace several times trying to speak with Elizabeth, who ignored him every time. Around 2 in the afternoon, he saw a truck pulling up to the service entrance. 2 rough-looking men unloaded a ramp and entered the building. They've come for Thunder, Tyler realized in panic. Without thinking twice, he ran to Mr. Patterson's apartment. The door was unlocked. He hurried inside and went straight to the desk, opening the top drawer where he found the blue folder Mr. Patterson had mentioned. Inside, as promised, were documents related to Thunder, ownership certificates, veterinary records, and, most importantly, a recently signed will witnessed by 2 people. Tyler skimmed it quickly, his heart racing when he found the passage he was looking for. I hereby decree that my horse Thunder be donated to the Rising Sun Ranch, owned by Catherine Miller, to join the equine therapy program for children with special needs. I also allocate the sum of $500,000 for the animal's care and the expansion of the program. This was the proof he needed. Mr. Patterson had already decided Thunder's fate, even before visiting the ranch. With shaking hands, Tyler pulled out his phone and took pictures of the document. Then he heard voices coming from the terrace. Elizabeth and the men from the truck were approaching Thunder. Tyler ran up the stairs and burst onto the terrace. "You can't sell Thunder," he shouted, breathless. "Mr. Patterson already decided his future. It's all in the will." Elizabeth turned, startled by the intrusion. "You again? How did you get into the apartment?" "That doesn't matter. What matters is that your father wants Thunder to go to a therapy ranch. He even set aside money for it." Tyler showed her the pictures of the document on his phone. Elizabeth snatched it from his hands and examined the images, her expression slowly changing. "Where did you get this?" she asked, her voice less sharp. "Your father told me about the will yesterday, before going to the hospital. He had already decided to donate Thunder to the ranch. He just wanted to visit the place first. The men who came to pick up the horse were standing by, waiting for instructions." "And this ranch, is it trustworthy?" asked Elizabeth, still examining the document on her phone screen. "Yes, it's an amazing place. The children do therapy with the horses, and Ms. Catherine is very experienced. Your father thought it would be perfect to fulfill the promise he made to your mother to take care of Thunder, while also giving him a new purpose." Elizabeth handed the phone back to Tyler and stepped closer to Thunder, hesitantly touching the animal's coat. "My mother loved this horse so much," she murmured, more to herself than to the others. "I never understood this obsession with horses. I always thought they were just big, expensive animals to keep." The horse whinnied softly, as if understanding they were talking about him. "But he's not just a horse, ma'am," Tyler said with conviction. "He's your father's promise to your mother, and now he can be so much more. He can help children. He can make a difference in so many lives." Elizabeth fell silent for a moment, seemingly processing the situation. Finally, she turned to the waiting men. "You can go. We won't be needing your services." When the men left, she turned back to Tyler. "I want to see this ranch and this Ms. Catherine. If it's truly a suitable place, I'll respect my father's wishes, but we need to settle this quickly. I can't stay in New York City for too long." Tyler could hardly believe what he was hearing. He was about to respond when his phone rang. It was Ms. Karen. "Ty, where are you? Miss Catherine is here with me. We came to the Skyline Tower to try and speak with Mr. Patterson's daughter." "Mom, you won't believe it. I'm on the terrace with Ms. Elizabeth, and she wants to meet Ms. Catherine. Can you come up?" Minutes later, Ms. Karen and Ms. Catherine arrived on the terrace. Ms. Catherine, a sturdy woman around 60 with a warm smile and sharp eyes, immediately approached Thunder with ease. "What a magnificent animal," she exclaimed, examining the horse with a professional eye. "He's been very well cared for considering the circumstances." Elizabeth watched the interaction closely. Ms. Catherine turned to her and extended her hand. "Catherine Miller, I own the Rising Sun Ranch and coordinate the equine therapy program for children with special needs." "Elizabeth Patterson, Augusto's daughter?" The two women shook hands, and Ms. Catherine began explaining her work at the ranch, how the horses help children with autism, cerebral palsy, and other conditions, and how Thunder could fit into the program. "Your father has a huge heart, Ms. Elizabeth. When he learned about our work through Ty, he was immediately interested. Last week, he called me to discuss the donation details and even suggested renovations so Thunder could have a wide view, similar to what he has here." Elizabeth seemed genuinely moved by her father's dedication. "I was worried about his health. Keeping a horse here at his age with heart problems. I understand your concern," Ms. Catherine said, "but now we can offer an alternative that respects both your father's health and the promise he made." After a long conversation, Elizabeth finally agreed. Thunder would be transferred to the Rising Sun Ranch as soon as Mr. Patterson was discharged from the hospital and could take part in the decision. In the meantime, Miss Catherine offered to help care for the animal on the terrace, easing Elizabeth's worries about her father's health. "I think this will be best for everyone," Elizabeth concluded. especially for my father. He'll be able to visit Thunder at the ranch whenever he wants, without the daily responsibility of caring for him. Tyler couldn't contain his happiness. Thunder was safe, and Mr. Patterson's wishes would be respected. 3 days later, Mr. Patterson was discharged from the hospital. He was weaker and needed a cane to get around, but his mind remained sharp. When he learned about the negotiations between Elizabeth and Miss Catherine, he was moved. "You really saved Thunder, Ty," he said, squeezing the boy's hand. "And more than that, you found a greater purpose for him. You had already decided that, Mr. Patterson. It was all in the will." "Yes, but without your intervention, Elizabeth might have sold Thunder before discovering my wishes." Thunder's move to the ranch was carefully planned. Engineers assessed the best way to transport the animal from the rooftop down to the ground, opting for a special crane that would lower the horse on a reinforced platform. The event drew attention from the local media, and several residents of the Skyline Tower gathered to watch. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now back to the story. On a sunny Sunday morning, 3 weeks after the hospital episode, everything was ready for Thunder's descent. Mr. Patterson, though still recovering, insisted on being there. By his side stood Tyler. "Ms. Karen, Elizabeth, and Ms. Catherine. Are you nervous, Mr. Patterson?" Tyler asked, noticing the tension in the old man's face. "A little. It's the end of an era, in a way, but also the beginning of something new and beautiful." As the crane began lifting the platform where Thunder stood, Mr. Patterson held Tyler's hand firmly. Together they watched the horse being gently lowered onto the special truck that would take him to the ranch. "You know, Ty," Mr. Patterson said as Thunder made his historic descent, "when I designed this building, I never imagined there'd be a horse on the rooftop one day, but I also never imagined I'd meet a boy like you who'd teach me so much about courage and determination." Tyler smiled, touched. "You're the one who taught me, Mr. Patterson, about promises, about love, about architecture." Once on the ground, Thunder was transferred to the ranch's adapted truck. The crowd of onlookers applauded, and even Dr. Richardson, the resident who had so strongly opposed the horse's presence, seemed moved. Before the truck left, Mr. Patterson approached Thunder for a temporary farewell. "See you soon, old friend. Margaret would be proud of you." At the Rising Sun Ranch, Thunder was welcomed with full honors. A special stable had been prepared, with an opening facing the horizon, allowing the horse to keep the wide view Mr. Patterson considered so important. In the following months, the animal quickly adapted to his new routine and proved surprisingly patient with the children in the equine therapy program. Mr. Patterson visited the ranch regularly, always accompanied by Tyler. Over time, the old man regained some of his health and energy and began taking a more active role in the program, sharing his story and knowledge with the parents of the children involved. "You know, Ty," he remarked during one visit, "I think Margaret would be happier seeing Thunder here helping these children than isolated on the rooftop." "You really think so?" "I'm sure. Margaret always said horses have a greater purpose than just being beautiful. They have the power to heal souls." And it was true. Every week, Tyler witnessed small miracles, children who had never spoken saying their first words on Thunder's back, children with motor difficulties gaining confidence and balance, children with emotional trauma opening up to the world again through their bond with the animal. The fund established by Mr. Patterson allowed the program to expand, serving more children and incorporating new horses into the therapy. Ms. Catherine, always enthusiastic, implemented Mr. Patterson's suggestions to improve the facilities and make the ranch a model for equine-assisted therapy. Elizabeth, who had initially planned a short stay in the US, ended up extending her visit for several months. Spending time with her father and frequent visits to the ranch rekindled memories of her childhood with her mother. Gradually, the once distant relationship between father and daughter began to rebuild. "I don't think I ever truly understood your love for horses," she confided to Mr. Patterson during a sunset at the ranch. "But seeing what Thunder does for these children, I'm starting to." Mr. Patterson smiled, holding his daughter's hand. "It's never too late to understand love in its many forms, my dear." For Tyler, the entire experience was transformative. The shy boy who once observed the world through an improvised telescope now had a purpose, a talent, and a mentor. Mr. Patterson encouraged him to keep developing his drawing skills and to seriously consider a career in architecture. So you have the eye, Ty, the kind that sees beyond the obvious, that spots possibilities where others see obstacles. That's what made me a good architect, and it's something you have naturally. With Mr. Patterson's help, Tyler secured a scholarship to a technical school for architecture, where he could begin his training while still in high school. Ms. Karen, initially skeptical about her son's ambitions, realized this unlikely friendship had opened doors she never imagined possible. On the first anniversary of Thunder's transfer to the ranch, a special celebration was held. Children from the therapy program, their families, ranch staff, and residents of the Skyline Tower who had become supporters of the project all gathered to celebrate. During the event, Ms. Catherine announced a surprise. Thanks to an additional donation from Mr. Patterson, the ranch would build an educational center where architects and veterinarians could study and develop designs for therapeutic spaces for animals and people. The Margaret Patterson Educational Center will be a place of learning and innovation, declared Ms. Catherine. And our first project will be led by a promising young architect, Tyler Anderson, under the guidance of our patron, William Patterson. Everyone applauded, and Tyler, flushed with emotion, could hardly believe what he was hearing. Mr. Patterson, standing beside him, squeezed his shoulder proudly. "You've earned this, young man. Your vision will change many lives just as it changed mine." That afternoon, as he watched Thunder grazing peacefully with the sunset in the background, Tyler reflected on the extraordinary journey that had begun with a simple observation through an improvised telescope. A horse on the rooftop of a skyscraper. What had seemed impossible had not only proven real, but had become the catalyst for profound transformations in so many lives. Mr. Patterson approached, leaning on his cane. "What's on your mind, architect?" Tyler smiled at the title. "I was thinking about how the most unlikely stories sometimes turn out to be the most important. Like the story of a boy who found a horse on the top floor of a building." "Exactly." The two stood in silence, gazing at the horizon. Tyler thought of Mrs. Margaret, whom he'd never met, yet whose presence seemed to linger over everything that had happened. He thought of Thunder, who now had a new mission. And he thought about how an act of love, whether a husband's promise to his wife or a boy's determination to help an elderly man, could create ripples of change far beyond what anyone could imagine. "How you know what Margaret used to say?" asked Mr. Patterson, as if reading his thoughts. "That horses are like love. They seem improbable in the modern world, but they're exactly what we need to remind us of our humanity." Tyler nodded, understanding perfectly, and as the sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, Thunder whinnied softly as if agreeing too. In the years that followed, the Margaret Patterson Educational Center became a national benchmark for therapeutic, architectural projects. Tyler, now a teenager, developed a design for adapted stables under Mr. Patterson's guidance, revolutionizing equine therapy practices across the country. Elizabeth decided to split her time between Paris and New York City, reconnecting with her American roots and, most importantly, rebuilding her relationship with her father. Together, they created a foundation supporting animal-assisted therapy programs in underserved communities. Mr. Patterson, though still residing in the Skyline Tower, began dedicating more time to the ranch. The terrace, once modified to accommodate Thunder, was transformed into a community garden where residents could grow plants and enjoy the panoramic view. Dr. Richardson, the resident who had so fiercely opposed Thunder's presence in the building, surprisingly became one of the ranch's biggest supporters after his grandson, diagnosed with autism, showed remarkable progress thanks to therapy sessions with Thunder. "I never imagined I could be so wrong about something," he confessed to Mr. Patterson during a visit to the ranch. "That horse I wanted kicked out of the building is helping my grandson find his voice." Ms. Karen, seeing her son's success, decided to return to her studies. With Mr. Patterson's support, she enrolled in a business administration course and eventually took over the financial management of the foundation Elizabeth had created. As for Thunder, the horse lived many happy years at the ranch, helping hundreds of children in their development. His stable, always facing the horizon, became a symbol of how a promise of love could transform lives in unexpected ways. And it all began with a curious boy, a makeshift telescope, and the improbable sight of a horse on the top floor of a building. A sight no one believed was real, yet one that proved not only true, but extraordinarily meaningful. On days when the New York City sky was particularly clear, Tyler, now grown and studying architecture, would sometimes return to his old apartment, take out the old telescope, now replaced with a professional one, a gift from Mr. Patterson, and gaze at the terrace of the Skyline Tower. The horse was no longer there, of course, but the spirit of the promise that had placed him in that unlikely spot lived on, in every child who smiled while riding thunder, in every project he designed for the educational center, in every moment he shared with his mentor. The story of the boy who found a horse on the top floor of a building spread, first as a local curiosity, then as an inspiration. Journalists told it, parents recounted it to their children, and Mr. Patterson, with his deep, measured voice, shared it with every new group of parents who brought their children for equine therapy. It all began with a promise, he always said, and it continues with every child who finds in thunder a friend, a teacher, a healer. Tyler learned that the most improbable stories often hold the deepest truths, that love can take unexpected forms, that promises, when kept with determination, can transform not just one life but many, and that sometimes to see the extraordinary, all you need is to look up with eyes willing to believe. The end of the story. Dear listener, if this journey of the boy, the horse, and the architect has touched your heart, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Tell us how you felt when you discovered the reason behind that horse on the terrace. Your company keeps our story going.